Hello guys, welcome back from Thanksgiving break. I hope you guys had a very safe and fun time. I wanted to just go through this integrating sources PowerPoint with you and talk about your assignment in English 100 for this week. Remember, you do need to go and look at the English 101 stuff for that separate class. Okay, so this is something that we've gone over a couple of times throughout the semester, but it's important to revisit because this essay is so heavy on source material. Remember, it is an informative essay. You're placing this information that you found in context. So you will be relying on source material most of the time. So, if we remember from the beginning of the semester, whenever we have source material, we want to integrate it using the Oreo method. The Oreo method is, of course, using a signal phrase, so introducing the quote, the actual quote or source material, depending on if you want to use paraphrase or summary instead, and then your explanation. So every single time you bring up a piece of information that's found in a source in this essay, you should have it sandwiched with that introduction and explanation. This is what's going to help you get to that full 4 to 5 pages. Without this, you're not going to be able to get there, so it's really important. So, to explain in more detail, signal phrase. This tells me that I know you're using information that you found from a source. If you don't tell me that, then it's easy to accidentally plagiarize and act like that information is your own. So it's really important to say, in such and such article, blah blah blah. And then you get your actual quote or source. Obviously, this is the easy one. This is a source material. And then you've got your explanation. It's really important that you never drop in a source without explaining how it relates to the purpose of your essay. So you should be explaining how this is a piece of context, historical context, social context, or cultural context that fits in with your understanding of whatever your topic is. So there's a couple different types of source material that you'll use in your essay. For this essay, I'm asking that you try to use all 3 different types of source material. So that's direct quotes, paraphrase, and summary, and we'll break those down. So the first type is a direct quote. This is what I asked you to find for your outline, where you just take directly what the source said and you put it in quotation marks, and that's, your direct quote. These have to be introduced, they need to be fully explained, and they absolutely need to be in quotation marks. So in this example, according to Daniels, dogs are the #1 killer of squirrels in America, page 19, this shows that despite popular belief, at least one researcher disputes the argument that cars kill the most squirrels. You can see all 3 of those elements of the Oreo method at play. So according to Daniels, that's the introduction of the quote. We know that this source is Daniels, whether that's probably a book, and we know that this quote that we get is from Daniels. Then we get the actual quote, it's in quotation marks, and it's got the in-text citation right afterwards. And then in blue here, you've got the explanation of how the source fits in with the writer's own ideas. And you can see here that the blue is the longest part. So it's really important that you're explaining in your own words for most of this essay how exactly that source, that information you found in the source, helps you understand whatever element of context you're looking at. Okay, so then you've got summary. Summary is going to be a really broad overview of the main ideas of a source. It's when you take something that's a lot longer and you condense it into something that is a couple of sentences long. We did this when we looked at commercials and we took, the events of the commercial and we condensed it into a teeny tiny summary. You might do this if you like your Destiny and you're looking at Mulan and you want to condense Mulan's whole plot into one short little paragraph. That would be a summary. You might do this, well, you probably should do this in your kind of introduction of whatever your original text is. So for Destiny, Mulan. For Jacob, you might be looking at that Bigfoot article, condensing its main ideas down into a couple of sentences. Same thing goes with Susie and your article condensed down into a couple of sentences. Brandy, you'll do the same thing with your article. So you'll just take that and just pull out the main ideas and summarize it in your own words, making that article's main points a lot shorter than the full, hopefully multiple paragraphs that article is. So in this example, you can see, according to an article about professional writing in the medical field, nurses need to write as professionals using formal language, proper grammar, and descriptive details. This supports the idea that nursing majors should be required to take writing courses during college. So here you can see the introduction. We know that this is going to be about an article that deals with professional writing in the medical field. So this is the source introduction. And then you've got in orange here the summary. So this is the whole article summarized down to its main points. And then in blue again, you have your explanation in your own words and how it relates to the main point of whatever article or whatever essay you're writing. And then, of course, always, even if it's summary, even if it's on your own words, you still need to have that in-text citation. That can be really easy to forget when you're not directly quoting something. You still need to have that in-text citation. And then the last kind of source here is going to be paraphrase. So this is the trickiest one, and it is when you take an author's own words and you change them around to make them your own. It's usually where you take a quote and you just summarize, or you make it into your own words by changing the individual words in the sentence. Now, I don't support just going into a thesaurus and, typing in each word. That'll make it sound really weird. But just try to read the sentence and then think about how you would say that information and try to type that out. So in this example, the main reason why people text and drive is because they feel they need to stay connected at all times in our fast-paced world. We can paraphrase that, put it into our essay, and it would look like the author notes that people may feel pressure to stay connected because our current society moves and changes so quickly. So you can see that all but stay connected has been changed into the student's own words here, and that's totally fine. If you if you feel like you can't change a certain phrase in your paraphrase, you can actually quote that phrase within it, and it'll look just like this. I find that that's a lot easier than having to paraphrase the entire thing, which can get a little tricky. And obviously, as I've said many times, you still have your in-text citation even though you've put it into your own words. So a really handy thing to do when you're revising for your second draft or your final draft is to go into your draft and highlight any place where you think you're using source material. You should be using source material in every single paragraph of your essay. At least, in your context paragraphs, you should probably have 2 quotes or maybe a paraphrase and a quote. In your introduction, you might, as I said, summarize. You might draw out a really good quote to use as your hook. You might, in your analysis, that might be where your summary is. You'll definitely want to bring in whatever that original text or that original movie was in your analysis at the end of your essay. So you should be using plenty of source material throughout the whole thing. So that's the first thing you can check when you highlight all the places where you think you're using source material. Do I have source material in every single paragraph? Because that is where you're getting that contextual information from. And then you can see, maybe even go through and do what I did, where I highlighted things in different colors to show that I've used all three parts of the Oreo method. You might go through and highlight in one color all the source material, and then go back and see right before the source material, do I have a signal phrase that I can highlight? And then afterwards, do I have an explanation in my own words that I can highlight? And find any places where you don't feel like you have either the signal phrase or the explanation afterwards, and make sure you add those or add citations if you're missing those. That can be a really easy and quick way to go ahead and clean up your second draft or polish your final draft. Alright, so the last thing that I want to show you is your homework for English 100. Of course, your second draft is due in 101, but for 100, you will be doing a revision workshop. So this is something that we've done in class before, where I'm doing this instead of a peer review this time, just because we don't really have time for peer review for this last essay. So you'll be going through and answering all of these questions thoroughly. Do not write yes or no for any of these. Make sure you are really thinking about it. And this will require you not waiting until the last minute to finish your second draft, which should be possible since I gave you the week off for Thanksgiving and that Monday before Thanksgiving off to work on your second draft. So you should not be waiting until the last minute for that because you will need to have your second draft completed in order to answer all of these questions about it. So that's really important that you do that. It's due Friday at midnight as per usual, and this will really help you in writing your final draft as you're revising based on my feedback on your second draft. And I will really quickly remind you that your final draft will be due a week from Monday, November 30th. So you'll have that weekend to revise your second draft and turn it into your final draft. It's a bit of a quick turnaround for finals week, but I believe in all of you, and as always, if you have questions, concerns, comments, reach out to me through email ahead of time. Don't wait until Friday at 11 o'clock because I will not get to it. And if you need me to schedule a Zoom conference or anything like that, I can also do that this week. Just let me know. Alright, I look forward to reading all about your revision of your essay and hearing from you through email.